All right, welcome back for part two of my Duran Duran Save a Prayer um, tutorial or whatever. All right, so we're gonna take a shot at the lead sound. This is a bit more complicated. Now, it does start, however, on the same notes as the ostinato. So here we are. Um, You have to think about rhythm for this one. Now, I like to put the notes in first. That's the first thing I want to do, so that later we can work on the sound while it's playing, and we can kind of, dial it in and such. So if you think of the rhythm, it goes boom, boom. Okay, so that's a weird. Okay, so what I want to do is just do the bass of that melody, which is D G A G A G D. Okay, only that. All right, so that is like this. Okay, so D for one beat, 2 beats, 3 beats, 4 beats. A, 2, 3, G, and then the exact same thing. And again, if it's too fast, then pause, and then D for the last note. Okay. So these are the spots right here where the little bendy thing happens, where the little thing on those two notes right there. So we're gonna have to do something to those eventually. Okay. So we'll get to that in a second. And let's just 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now let's talk programming here. All right. This is going to be a sawtooth kind of thing. Okay. So we want to put our waves up to like so, and probably have a couple of them. Okay. Okay. And now, of course, it's all about the filter frequency. So we turn the filter frequency down. So keyboard tracking basically means that the higher up you play, the brighter the sound gets, the more opened up the filter becomes. Okay, so there's a little bit of that on this sound, but not a whole lot. Okay, so now we kind of have to think like what else can happen in this thing, right? You have to kind of refer back to the original. All right. Well, one of the things is that it's detuned. All right. So I'm going to go for the gusto here and use all 3 oscillators. So what I like to do is have one in the middle, no tuning, one here on like -5 cents, and then this one +5 cents. Okay. So that should give us a nice shimmery effect. Or put this one at maybe like 6, just to give it a little bit more variation. Yeah, I like that better. You may not notice a difference, but the difference is when the note attacks and there's kind of this pew shimmery effect. If it's the same every single time, it doesn't sound natural. It doesn't sound like an analog synth. It sounds like a digital recreation. Which is what it is. But still, so we're gonna want monophonic on this one, definitely. Okay, because what we don't have here is a pitch bender. All right, so a real like whatever performance synth or whatever has a pitch bender. And sometimes it's a wheel or a joystick, and it's a little thingy that you move, and the pitch bells, which is oodles of fun, by the way. So we have to simulate that with what we've got here. Okay, but let's talk filter and amp envelope. It's not quite as like attacky, pow, right? It's a little bit more gentle. So. So somewhere. Okay. So I mean there's not much else to it. It's a pretty simple sound, right? It doesn't change over time. It doesn't really do anything. It's just a sawtooth wave that's been kind of muffled a little bit by the filter. Okay. The trick in my mind is during these spots right here. Is what to do with these spots. So what happens is it goes up a fourth. Okay, so it goes up to C, like here, and then back down again twice. So it goes C G C G. So it's like D, and if we really slow it down, it's like so it's really fast. Okay, um, so if we think about this, here's our broken down beat, right? So like 1 and 2 and 3 and so the last G hits on the second half of that note. Okay, so it's like 1 and 2 and 3 and so the G hits right there, right? So this one we want to be there, which means we need to take this small space right there, okay, that small space, and put 3 notes in there, evenly spaced, okay, and they're going to be C, G, C, so that we land on the G right there in time, okay. This is the trick, all right. So what is that? What are those rhythmic values here, okay? This is eighth note, 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 eighth note. Okay, so that's an eighth note. All right, so what we really are talking about is 16th note triplet. Okay, so if we put our snap onto wrong button. If we put our snap onto 1/16th T, a triplet, and then if you notice what's just happened, we've opened up three little spots in that chunk right there. Okay. All right. Now, the interesting thing is this: we can now take this, right, and just move it over. Delete that note. Take all of this stuff and hit Control while we move it. Just make sure it's on G, and then we can do it again and put it all right here. Okay, and now we have it copied 3 ways. Okay, now let's leave it a listen and see how it sounds. I mean, it's okay. It's not awesome. All right. So what do we need to do? We are already on monophonic, so we need to turn our glide up just a little bit. And this is going to make it swoop from note to note. Right? It's not going to take much. Okay. Now, the only thing I don't really like is the fact that between this note and that note, it's still swooping. I don't really want that to happen. So here's what I'm going to do. This is daring. This is wacky. Not really. I mean, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn off my snap completely. Okay? And then I'm going to select that note right there. And I'm just going to resize it back just a hair. Same thing with this one. Okay, because usually what glide looks for, or it's also known as portamento, okay, what it looks for is the time between one note and another note to basically be exactly the same. Okay, so like if we really zoomed in here and we looked at these two things, the division between those two notes, there's really there's no space. Okay, so glide says, oh, there's no space. Let's bend the note between them. Okay, no problem. Cool. But we want a space, so we don't want the bend to be in there. Okay, and let's see if that makes a difference. Okay, I'm actually going to go and bend these guys back a little bit more. Maybe even like a full eighth note here. And then we'll rely on the synthesizer to actually cut them off a little earlier. So that's space. We can change our release time. Okay. The funny thing is, if you really listen to those notes closely, I don't even know if they're exactly a C. They're like somewhere between a C and a C sharp, which I mean we can't really do that in Audiotool. You really just need a bend to do that, and that's just him playing and like, oh, and then him pre-bending and just go like, here's my note, and then his left hand is going, just moving the joystick back and forth. Okay, now to kind of add the extra sort of like extra juice on this particular sound, we're gonna need a little bit of reverb. Okay, and I might also add a little bit of chorus. So we're gonna try that. Now chorus is an inline effect, so we're gonna put it right like a so. Okay, and I want the depth to be not even close. I mean, this thing cranks it all the way up right at the very beginning. So add your spread a little bit less speed. So it kind of smooths out the edges a little bit, which is a nice effect. Okay, so and then last but not least, we got reverb action. We want to turn up our level, and then we want to crank up the room size like we almost always do, and maybe a bit of damping. Yeah, okay. And then there's that. And now here's our sound coming in channel 2, so we'll turn up aux a little bit there. And now, okay, and it's very, very quiet because I turned it way down here. You know, I just realized something. It's all too high, right? It should be lower. So let's crank the octave down for all 3 oscillators. That's the stuff. I like it. It's not bad. That's pretty good. Okay. Now, if you notice, also what I did with my ostinato is I duplicated it here 4 times. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 bars. Okay. If you wanted to go more into this, I mean, you could add more bass. The bass part is actually really complex in this song. It's interesting. He plays all sorts of different notes that you wouldn't expect in a typical bass part, all over the place. So it's sort of cool. Obviously drums. One could add drums. There's even a little bit of guitar that's really hard to hear in the background. Real high, tinny kind of electric guitar strums. Sort of in the background, and then obviously the vocals and Audiotool and vocals. Not a great combination. So, anyways, good luck with this. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments how you did. See you.